Elizabeth Uviebinené and Yomi Adegoke's recent book, Slay in Your Lane, aims to shed a light on the experience of black women in Britain. Labelled as the Black Girl's Bible, the book aims to give advice through interviews with successful black women about how to navigate everything from relationships to professional life. I went to speak to them about how they came to write it and what the process has meant for them. Thank you so much for coming to talk to me about your book, Slay in Your Lane. You've had quite an amazing year off the back of this book. You've been nominated for awards. You were in Nigeria last week at a book festival. How are you guys feeling?
We just haven't, I don't think we've sat down and like processed anything because it's been so back to back that like loads of surreal things have happened that it's like 1 minute you're at City Hall with Sadiq Khan being like, and he's holding up the book going, this is so important. The next minute you're the Mary Claire Awards. The next minute like you're in Nigeria at Google like doing an event. So we haven't like sat down and processed anything. So yeah, I think we just need like a month to sleep and then like talk about what has been going on.
Yeah, and what happens next.
Yeah, exactly. It's been a bit mad.
So could you talk to me a bit about the process of writing the book and also a bit about the women who you interviewed? How did you decide who you were going to go to talk about being a black woman?
Oh, so when we, I guess, had initial idea, one of the key reasons why we wanted to kind of speak to different types of women, or speak to the women full stop, was because we didn't essentially have the answers. Like we were like 21/22 when we came up with the idea. It was important for us to kind of like make sure that we got different types of women as well, to make sure that we reflect the different versions of what black women can be. So we're from different industries and different backgrounds, and growing up we had different role models. So I think when we first sat down, we had like a long list of different, like almost like 200 women that we kind of pulled together and said, oh my God, we should interview these type of women. And I think if we were going to ever call it the Black Girl Bible, I think it was important for us to kind of make sure that we went above and beyond to kind of like show the different ranges of black women in this country doing obviously amazing things.
The thing I kind of took from this book was it was very British, and black British women being focused on is not something that happens a lot. But were there any women in particular who you were particularly excited to interview, or who you met and you were a bit starstruck by? I mean, there's Sharmadean Reed, there's Afua Hirsch, Clara Amfo. Was there any favourites that you had?
In terms of like people that I guess from when I was growing up that like really kind of maybe even latently like shaped basically how I've got to where I am. So people like Mallory Blackman, like I remember when I saw that book Pick Up Boy that she wrote, and I remember reading it and being so like blown away by the fact that it was about this like black boy who obviously needed like a heart transplant or something, and it was like they used to pick up, but I was like waiting for the like how the storyline like became about race and how it kind of became this like racism like sort of allegory or whatever, and it just never came. And I remember being like, wow, so you can write stories about black people that don't they're not about slavery, they're not about colonialism, they're not about like police brutality or racism. It's just about like their lives, like just going about their day-to-day kind of thing. So meeting her and just being able to kind of relay that like weird anecdote about how much that meant to me to her like really was like amazing.
On the front of Slay in Your Lane, it says the Black Girl Bible, right? And you address so many things in it, from work to dating. What for you is your favourite chapter, your favourite kind of section where you wrote about it and you thought, right, this is really what I want to sink my teeth into?
I think for me, it was definitely the dating chapter. I knew there'd be really sort of controversial topics and things that like, I only generally felt comfortable speaking about to people like Elizabeth because I knew I wouldn't essentially be dragged. But I think like writing about it and being able to kind of like show, I guess, that a lot of the things that black women felt when they're on apps like Tinder and stuff wasn't because they were like crazy. It's backed up by like statistical data, it's backed up by like census data. Just kind of showing that like, I think it was Patricia Hill Collins that spoke about the idea of the othering of black women. So like for blue eyes and like a slim nose and blonde hair to be considered attractive, you need somebody with like a big nose and like dark eyes and like big hair to be considered like unattractive, essentially. All those kind of ideas which I think are really kind of difficult to speak about without feeling like, I don't know, bitter or like sounding bitter. Just being able to kind of give black women a space to talk about those things without feeling like they're going to be shamed or feel like they're going to be like made to feel embarrassed about, I guess, wanting to be like desirable and stuff. Yeah, so it's definitely my favourite chapter, but definitely like the most difficult to write, I'd say.
When you're writing stuff like this, do you kind of find it difficult to be putting down personal examples? Did you feel like a little bit exposed in doing that, or did you find that a liberating thing to do?
Our agent, when we first sent her the manuscript, initial criticism was that, it's good, but it's a bit dry. So she was like, and we were like, dry? Like, no, we're hilarious. We were like so offended by it. But then she definitely had a point because we were completely like, we don't want this to be about us at all. We want this to be about the amazing women we've interviewed. We're just like, you know, a conduit to their stories. Like, we don't want it to focus on us. But then when we did start trying to make it less dry and putting ourselves into it, it got better, but then it got way more personal. So yeah, definitely like is liberating, because you feel like, you know, one person can read your story and feel like it resonates with them and feel empowered by that, and that kind of empowers you as well. And like, you know, the validation other women have got from it's been amazing. But then it definitely does make you feel a bit more like, whoa, you know, people actually know about things that happened, like, I don't know, when I was in year 6, like these like suppressed memories of like weird racist incidents that I'd like completely forgotten about.
At the moment, in the past year, there have been several books. There's been Afua Hirsch, she wrote British, and then there's Reni Eddo-Lodge, Why I'm No Longer Talking to White People About Race. We've got this. Galdem, the Galdem magazine, has been doing a lot. So there's been a lot more visibility of black women talking about their identity and the problems that they've got. What are the main issues that you think haven't really fully been addressed, the progress that still needs to be made for black women?
Yes, diversity is, and I think it's really important we talk about the fact that it's slowly increasing because the changes are very visible. Yes, it may be easier in terms of like employability and getting your foot through the door, but I think what the conversation is now is behind that door, what lies there? Are you actually being like a valued member of staff? Are you in a position that means you can actually affect real change? Because when it comes down to it, you look at the breakdown of the people that are on top and it's still the exact same people. I think
Structurally, we are not where we need to be. So as much as diversity and things looking representative looks a lot better and is increasing, there's no point, you know, looking amazing on the outside and, you know, falling to bits on the inside. And I think that's how I feel, especially working from the city and seeing that background, and experiencing, you know, working in Canary Wharf and looking at. And one of the reasons why I pitched the idea of this book to Yomi is because I looked at my boss, he was white, looked at his boss, he was white, looked at his boss, he was white, and it just was like, I wasn't sure exactly where I would essentially fit in this, would this environment allow me to thrive?
So what is it that you want to move on to afterwards with all of the stuff you've learned?
I think I've always had a plan in terms of like, since I was, you know, in college, and you do this and you do your A-levels and you go to university and you get your own grad job and you get past the grad job, you get your first promotion. So I feel like this is the first time in my life that I essentially don't have a plan, or that plan has essentially changed. And obviously it's amazing that it's been able to change in such a wonderful way. But I would be lying to say that I know exactly what I want to do next. And I think that's what has been really great about meeting all these amazing women. What I need to do more is take the advice that we've essentially written in this book in terms of versions of success, and making sure that, you know, they're external to expectations of, you know, other people, and really work out exactly what your version of success and what your version of good is. What this book has really shown me essentially is like, I can essentially do anything if I really, really want to. And that sounds like so like airy-fairy, but I think ultimately everyone has amazing talents, is essentially been given opportunity to kind of showcase them.